I was 14 years old, standing alone in a crowded airport, watching my family disappear without looking back. One lie, cruel, calculated, and believable, had convinced her to abandon me. What she didn't know was that this moment would expose a truth far darker than anyone imagined. 2 days earlier, the trip had felt like a promise. My mother said Dubai would fix everything. New schools, new beginnings, a chance to escape my brother's constant jealousy. At the airport, he joked loudly, whispering things into her ear while smiling at me. I laughed nervously, unaware each word was sharpening a knife meant for my back. When security lines split us, he leaned close to her, voice urgent, eyes wide with fake concern. He said I'd stolen money, said I'd planned to run, said I was dangerous to travel with. I watched her face change, confusion melting into fear. She didn't ask me anything. She didn't check my bag. She just nodded, clutched her purse, and followed him away. I stood frozen as announcements echoed overhead, suitcases rolling past like nothing had happened. Minutes stretched into hours. My phone buzzed once, one message from her saying, "Stay there. We'll talk later." Later never came. Hunger crept in, then panic. I realized I wasn't just left behind. I was erased from the story they chose to believe. The terminal lights felt colder as night fell. I sat on the floor counting tiles, pretending bravery. Every couple walking past reminded me of trust. I kept thinking the lie would crack, that she'd turn back, but the silence answered me instead. It was the moment childhood ended without permission or apology from anyone. By midnight, the airport felt like a different world. Shops were shuttered, lights dimmed, and footsteps echoed too loudly against the polished floor. I hugged my backpack to my chest like it could protect me. My stomach hurt from hunger, but fear hurt more. I watched security guards from a distance. Terrified they'd ask questions I couldn't answer. I was 14, alone in a foreign place, abandoned with no plan and no money. That's when I noticed him. He sat a few rows away, older, neatly dressed, hands folded calmly in his lap. He wasn't staring, not at first. But every time I looked up, he was there, watching, like he'd already decided something about me. Eventually, he stood and approached slowly, careful not to startle me. "You look lost," he said gently. His accent was unfamiliar, his tone measured and respectful. I nodded, too tired to lie. He offered me a bottle of water and a sandwich from his bag. Hunger won over caution. I thanked him between small bites, tears threatening to spill despite my efforts to stay composed. He asked no invasive questions. Just my name, my age, where my family was. When I told him, his expression tightened, not with judgment, but concern. "No child should be alone like this," he said quietly. Then he leaned closer and lowered his voice. "Come with me," he said. "Trust me. They will regret this." Every alarm in my head screamed at once. But so did desperation. I followed him, not because I trusted him, but because staying felt worse. We walked through a quieter wing of the terminal, sunlight beginning to creep through high glass windows as dawn approached. He kept a respectful distance, never touching my arm, never rushing me. That restraint was the only thing keeping my fear from turning into panic. He led me to an airport cafe just opening for the morning. The smell of coffee and warm bread felt unreal after the long night. He bought me food without asking, then sat across from me, folding his hands like he was preparing to confess something heavy. "I know who your brother is," he said softly. The words hit harder than a slap. My heart thudded as I demanded how. He explained slowly, carefully, about a financial investigation, about forged documents, about a young man who had used family members' names to hide stolen money. My brother's name sat at the center of it all. He wasn't a random stranger. He was an investigator, retired, unofficial, but relentless. He'd recognized my brother at the airport and stayed close, waiting. When he saw me left behind, he realized the lie had gone too far. "I didn't plan to involve you," he said. "But now you're already involved." Before I could respond, men in uniforms approached. My hands trembled as fear spiked again, until I saw their badges. Authorities. The truth I didn't know I was standing inside had finally caught up to all of us. They took me into a quiet office near the terminal, walls plain, lights too bright. A woman offered me juice, another draped a blanket over my shoulders. Their kindness made my chest ache. For the first time since being left behind, I felt seen. The investigator spoke to them in low tones, showing documents, pointing at photos. I caught my brother's face on one page and looked away. Hours passed in fragments. Questions came gently, never accusing. They asked what I knew, what I'd heard, how often my brother argued with my mother. I answered honestly, realizing how many warning signs I'd ignored growing up. The jealousy. The sudden money. The lies told casually, like jokes. Then my mother arrived. She looked exhausted, terrified, furious, all at once. The moment she saw me, she ran forward, but officers stepped between us. That was when the truth was laid bare. They explained the investigation, the forged accounts, the false accusation used to justify abandoning me. The danger she'd been warned about was never me. Her face collapsed as understanding finally replaced fear. She cried, repeating my name, saying she hadn't known, saying she was manipulated. I believed she hadn't known, but she had chosen to believe him without asking me. That hurt deeper than being left behind. My brother wasn't there. He'd been detained hours earlier. As my mother sank into a chair, shaking, I realized something painful and powerful. The lie that destroyed my family had finally destroyed itself. And nothing would ever go back to the way it was. Years have passed since that morning at the airport, but I still remember the echo of rolling suitcases and how small I felt standing alone. My brother faced consequences he never imagined. Charges, investigations, a life permanently altered by his own cruelty. The truth followed him the way he once followed money, relentlessly and without mercy. My mother tried to rebuild what she'd broken. She apologized in ways words couldn't fully carry, changing how she listened, how she questioned, how she protected. Forgiveness didn't arrive all at once. It came slowly, earned through consistency and humility. Trust, once shattered, takes time to learn how to stand again. As for me, that night forced me to grow up faster than I wanted. I learned that love without discernment can be dangerous, and that silence in the face of lies can cost everything. I also learned that strangers can sometimes act more like family than blood ever does. The investigator and I stayed in touch for years. He never took credit, never asked for gratitude. He once told me, truth always finds daylight, sometimes it just needs someone young enough to survive the dark. What she never expected was that abandoning me would save me. That lie didn't erase my future, it redirected it. I became stronger, more aware, less afraid of standing alone. And every time I walk through an airport now, I remind myself, being left behind didn't mean I was unwanted. It meant I was spared.